It's Ash from Super Videos back for another video. So in this video I'm going to continue to talk about 713, episode 13 of The Walking Dead, which is going to be called Bury Me Here. And I'm basically going to talk about the information that I've gathered so far, the things that I've predicted so far, and I'm going to put all of the pieces of the puzzle together to make a very concrete prediction about what I think we're going to see. It's actually a very bold claim, and what I say may be a stretch and it might not even happen, but the more I look into the pieces of the puzzle that we have, or the things that I've noticed, the more I come to this conclusion that I'm about to share with you. So I'm going to go through some of the shots that we've seen from the promo and kind of give my thoughts about how it's all gonna come together. The part that I am focusing on is the scene with the exchange between the Saviors and the Kingdomers. And as we see in one of the shots, we have Gavin and the group of the Saviors ready to make this exchange with King Ezekiel and the Kingdom, just like they always do. It's like a routine drop-off. You have the trucks of the Saviors there, and you have the big truck from the Kingdomers as well, which was the same vehicle they used to bring pigs, one of the previous exchanges that they had. So then in another shot, we have Gavin saying something along the lines of, you have to understand the gravity of what's happening here, you have to make a choice. So if you notice, we have Morgan and the other Kingdomers raising their gun towards the other Saviors in the background. So if you look at the truck in the back, the red truck, you can see that they have not moved. Only Gavin has now moved towards the vehicle of the Kingdomers to check inside and see what they have brought them this time, just like he always does. And it seems like he's not happy with what the Kingdom brought this time around. This kind of connects back to something that happened in the previous exchange. If you remember, in the previous exchange, they had watermelons, and initially Gavin said that you're short. Of course, when Ezekiel said check again, he checked again and said you've met your obligations. But if you take a look at the promotional images that we got a few months back with the melons, you can see that there are 4 melons inside. So that's basically saying that there's going to be some storyline that's going to focus on melons. And if you put that together with the previous exchange, so in the previous exchange they had enough melons, but this time Gavin is looking inside the truck, like we see from this shot here. As I said before, he's not talking to a specific person, he's looking inside the truck to see what they have, and he's saying that you don't have enough. So he's looking inside, they don't have the amount of melons that they need to have this time, or some other thing, but based on the image I'm going to say it's a melon as well. And then Gavin is going to say this is not what we want, and then he's going to order the other Saviors to pull up their guns. And we see King Ezekiel pulls out his gun and points it towards the Saviors as well this time. But this is where the other piece of the puzzle comes in. If you take a look at this shot right here, you see King Ezekiel, Jerry, and the other Kingdomers raising their gun. Richard does not have a gun, and he's not raising his gun. Richard is the only one not carrying a gun, or not having his gun out in this particular moment. But we do know that Richard had a gun, because if you take a look at another shot from the same promo, you see that Richard did in fact have a gun. So what stopped him from pulling out his gun this time? He was not shy about doing that in the last exchange. If you remember, in the last exchange, he pulled out his gun and pointed it towards Jared quickly. But it seems like this time he's not doing that. Now, connect this with what he said to Daryl. He said he's going to sacrifice himself for the Kingdom. So that all makes sense now, because Richard wants to sacrifice himself for the Kingdom. And to do that, when the altercation is going on, everyone is pulling out their gun, he's not going to do that. Which means that he's probably looking forward to getting shot and dying. That way he's sacrificing himself. That way that's going to push Ezekiel into wanting to fight. Now, the other part of this is, how does he know there's going to be an altercation? He could have raised his gun like before and created that conflict and ended up getting shot. That would have been the same, but he doesn't do that. That leads me to think that he has set something up so that this altercation happens. So remember what led to everyone pulling out their gun. This was because they didn't have enough supplies. So what if Richard sabotaged the exchange? So he took out a bunch of melons himself so that they would be short, which would piss Gavin off, which would make him tell the saviors to pull out their gun, and that would basically end up getting Richard shot and killed, which is basically what Richard wants. He's gonna sacrifice himself that way. So that means that Richard intentionally took out a bunch of melons so that they don't have enough melons, and then when he does that, that's gonna get him killed, which is going to push Ezekiel into wanting to help Rick and the others in this war. Now, there's something else that is very interesting, and it connects to what I just explained as well. So if you take a look at another shot from the promo itself, where they're all standing in front of this grave, you can see, as I have shown in this picture here, everyone is looking at the grave. So everyone is looking in the grave, and Ezekiel is making a speech. What is Richard doing at this point? Nothing. He's not looking inside the grave. So what if Richard dug this grave himself before they went to the exchange and basically put the sign that said, bury me here. And then after the exchange, Richard is hoping he would get killed and sacrifice himself, and then the Kingdomers would bury him in this hole that he's dug up. So putting it all together, we can see that Richard sabotages the exchange and makes it go wrong by taking some of the supplies out of the cart that they have, or the truck that they have, which he is hoping would lead to Gavin and the others shooting Richard and killing him. And then the other Kingdomers and King Ezekiel would bury Richard in the hole that he's dug himself, for himself. Now, this all seems to work perfectly fine, but at the end of the day, I still don't see how this is going to push Ezekiel into wanting to fight. So what I think is going to happen is something like I said, but in the process of Richard getting killed during that altercation, I think Benjamin is also going to end up dying. Because in my opinion, only Benjamin's death would push Ezekiel into this war. If it's Richard dying, that's not going to push Ezekiel into this war, mainly because he's going to suspect something has happened. Obviously, there's going to be things pointing to Richard doing something to the supply. So it's not going to go as smoothly as Richard would want, and Ezekiel would still stick to his peace treaty because he would think that one of his own men, Richard, did something that caused the saviors to murder him and to shed blood. But in Ezekiel's mind, it's not really the saviors' fault, or it's not initiated by the saviors, it's initiated by Richard. So what if Ben also ends up getting killed during the altercation? So we have Richard and Benjamin dying. That would actually go a long way into making Ezekiel want to fight. But that's basically what I have in terms of prediction. Like I said, it's very bold. None of it may happen, but it seems like everything is pointing towards Richard doing something to the plan, making it go wrong, and ending up getting killed in the process. But at the same time, I think, like I said, Benjamin is also going to die, which is going to lead Ezekiel into wanting to go to war with the saviors. I want to know your opinions about this. What do you think about my theory? Do you agree with it, or do you think that it doesn't make sense and that none of it is going to happen? That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll be back for another video.